I'm back with another eyebrows video due to popular demand, and it looks like of all of the subtopics related to eyebrows, the one that was the most requested was the shape, so straight versus arched eyebrows. So today we're going to talk about the difference between the two styles and how they impact our facial proportions. So when we're talking about straight or arched eyebrow shapes, a topic that we have to talk in conjunction with is the overall angle of the eyebrows. Because the common understanding is that straight eyebrows generally have a tendency to create a calmer, more gentle and youthful impression, whereas arched eyebrows are associated with more of an energetic, modern and mature image. Especially if you know anything about K-beauty trends, you'll know that this is sort of the general idea or consensus behind straight versus arched eyebrows. But this actually depends on the angle of the eyebrows as well. Straight eyebrows can still look modern and energetic when combined with an upward slope, and arched brows can also look soft, delicate, and gentle when used with a horizontal angle. So we can't really say that it's the shape alone that creates a specific set of images or impressions. It's actually the shape and the angle of the eyebrows working together. Now, the reason why the angle of the eyebrows has a role to play is because of their relationship to the angle of the eyes. So with an upward slope in the eyebrows, the distance between the eyes and the eyebrows near the inner corners of the eyes is going to be much narrower than the distance from the outer corners of the eyes to the eyebrows. So naturally, that accentuates the outer corners of the eyes more, and it makes the eyes appear more upturned. On the other hand, with the horizontal angle, the eyelid room around the inner and outer corners of the eyes are pretty similar in distance, so that makes the angle of the eyes appear more neutral. And how big of an impact this has really depends on the actual shape and the angle of the eyes themselves. So if you already have upturned eyes, then an upward slope in the eyebrows will enhance the sharpness of your eyes more, while a horizontal angle will neutralize that. Same thing with downturned eyes. An upward slope in the eyebrows will offset the downturned angle of the eyes, whereas a horizontal slope in the eyebrows will accentuate the angle of the eyes more. And this is why I said that straight eyebrows can still create a modern and energetic look when used with an upward slope, is because they can still accentuate the sharpness of the eyes. So when you hear somebody say straight eyebrows make you look more youthful and innocent, that really refers to straight eyebrows with a horizontal angle, and it indicates that there's a fair distance between the inner corners of the eyes and the eyebrows that neutralizes the sharpness. This is why looking at the eyelid room in both the inner and outer corners of the eyes is important. If that distance was narrow altogether, like if the eyebrows were just low in general, then that actually ends up adding a more stern image to the overall look. And this we already talked about a little bit in our facial gender video before. So the image that a straight eyebrow shape creates when we're not considering the eyelid room is actually pretty far from being a gentle and youthful and innocent impression that straight eyebrows are generally known for. So when we're talking about straight or arched eyebrow shapes, we have to consider the angle of the eyebrows as well, and the eyelid room in both the inner and outer corners of the eyes. Okay, so now let's talk about when are straight eyebrow shapes considered better than arched styles and vice versa. Like I said, the angle obviously matters, but if we're talking about the shape alone, with straight eyebrows, the tails sort of shoot out horizontally, right? And that actually draws the attention horizontally as well, which is ideal for long faces that want to offset the vertical length of the face. The downside of straight eyebrows is that they draw a very definitive line between the upper and middle thirds of the face. So if there's a big imbalance in the horizontal proportions between the upper and middle thirds, then straight eyebrows will accentuate that a little more. And this is somewhat dependent on the angle as well, because a horizontal angle will create a more definitive divide than in upward slope. So if you have a long middle third, for example, then you might want to consider more rounded styles of eyebrows that can sort of blur that definition between the upper and middle thirds. Even just rounding the heads of the eyebrows a little bit can make that definition a bit less prominent. And then with arched eyebrows, they're generally more effective at adding some dimension to the face. So if you have a wide face or a round face, or if your outer fifths are wide, then the curvature of the arches can enhance the structure of the face a little bit more and add some dimension to it. having arches naturally makes the eyelid room appear a little bit more spacious, so that helps with accentuating the vertical length of the face more, which is great for short faces. Arches are also beneficial in pulling the focus in an upward direction, so if you have a long lower third or if you have any prominent features in your lower third that drag the emphasis downwards, then having arches will help with pulling that emphasis up. I've used Eva Mendes as an example before. She has quite an angular jawline, a slightly long nose tip, and she's got a bit of protrusion in her whole mouth and lips area. And these are all features that add that striking element to her look and adds a lot of sexiness to her look as well. And the high brow arches make sure that the focus is pulled upwards towards the eyes so that the face doesn't come across as too bottom heavy. In Ava's case, her eyes also add a lot of sexiness to her look because of the shape and the angle. So the dramatic arch style just works really well with the strong prominence of her lower face and the shape of her eyes. I'd say Taraji P. Henson is also a really good example. She's got some width in her jawline, quite a long philtrum, and she has downturned corners in the lips, and these are elements that drag the emphasis in a downward direction, and the high brow arches help with pulling the focus back up to her eyes. I'd say a downside of arched eyebrows is that they highlight the vertical length of the face a little bit more, so naturally that adds a bit more maturity to the overall look. So if appearing youthful or appearing very soft and delicate are your high priorities, then straight eyebrows might be a better option. But like I said, it also really depends on the angle of the eyebrows as well as the eyelid room and also how defined the arches are. So softer arch styles can still add a delicate and feminine impression without making the overall look very harsh and bold. So proportional factors are definitely important in determining the right shape of eyebrows, but what's actually more important is the image that you want to portray. Some people might want to offset the angle of the eyes, or you might want to enhance the sharpness of the eyes. So it really depends on the preference. Even when I talked about my own eyebrow blindness, I was obviously referring to the boldness and the thickness, but I was also altering the shape of my eyebrows to straight with a horizontal angle back then because I was trying to follow the big K-beauty trend back in 2010s. And some comments did say that I look way nicer and more approachable, more youthful with the straight eyebrows. And those are all the effects that straight eyebrows with a horizontal angle can create. But I personally think that I look like I'm just trying to look young and I'm kind of going against my natural features. So preference is definitely the most important. Also, how much you can alter your brow shape from your natural brow style really depends on your bone structure. Like me, I'm Asian and my brow bones are not very pronounced at all, so I have quite a bit of flexibility when it comes to altering the shape and the angle of my eyebrows, but that's not always the case for everyone, so it's also a factor to consider. I hope you found the video helpful and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, stay unique and stay gorgeous.